Welcome to Marketing Momentum on the Rise, the show where we burn off the noise, fix what's broken in your growth engine, and rebuild with clarity. I'm Sterling Phoenix, and if your funnel's stalled, your message is ghosting your buyers, or your team can't agree on what's actually working, this is the clarity pass you didn't know you needed. Let's go. If your funnel is still shaped like a triangle from 2010, top, middle, bottom, linear, predictable, neat, well, then I have some news for you. Your buyer doesn't live in your funnel. They live in a non-linear, multi-channel, trust-fractured, insight-driven decision journey. And if your conversion strategy is ignoring that, you're not stuck, you're completely invisible. Look, I get it. The funnel made sense. It still makes sense as a mental model for understanding flow, but as an operational strategy for converting modern buyers, it's broken. Because that neat little triangle assumes buyers enter at the top and they progress linearly through each stage and pop at the bottom ready to buy. It assumes they follow your timeline, your content sequence, your nurture cadence. It assumes they need to be educated in the order you decided was logical. And none of it is true anymore. Today's buyers are researching you at 2 a.m. They're reading your competitor's case study. They're asking their network on LinkedIn if anyone's using your product. They're downloading 3 pieces of content in one session and then disappearing for 6 weeks. They enter your ecosystem through a podcast mention, not a landing page. They're converting after reading a single blog post that hit them at the exactly right moment, not because they completed your 7 email sequence. And your funnel, it has no idea what to do with that. So it keeps nurturing like they're in stage 2 when they're actually ready to buy, or worse yet, it marks them as cold because they didn't click the email. When they've been binge reading your content on the website every Friday for a month. That's the disconnect, and it's costing you deals. Here's the lie too many organizations still believe. If we just get enough leads into the top of the funnel, the pipeline will fill itself. More traffic, more downloads, more MQLs. Just keep pouring water into the top, and eventually some of it will make it to the bottom. Except that's not happening anymore. What's actually happening is your funnel is leaking belief, context, and urgency at every single stage. It's leaking belief because your messaging at the top doesn't connect to the conversation they were already having in their head. They land, they scan, they leave. You never earn their attention in the first place. Now, it's leaking context because you're pushing middle of the funnel content to people who have no idea why they should care. Or you're sending surface level content to someone who's already deep in evaluation mode and ready for technical deep dives. It's leaking urgency because nothing in your journey is connected to the moment they're actually experiencing. They're feeling the pain right now, but your content is designed for awareness building that assumes they're still figuring out that they even have a problem. And here's the kicker. You're measuring all of this with funnel metrics that can't see the leak. Sure, you're off celebrating MQL volume while conversion rates tank. You're optimizing click-through rates on emails that lead absolutely nowhere. You're running attribution reports that tell you a lead came from a single touch point when the truth actually is they touched 17 different pieces of content across 4 channels before they ever filled out a form, if they even filled out the form. The funnel isn't just outdated. It's actively lying to you about what's working. And the longer you operate inside that lie, the more money you waste trying to fix a system that was never built for how people actually are making decisions today. So let's talk about what's actually happening when someone decides to buy from you. First of all, they come in at all angles. Not through your carefully crafted landing page, through a podcast mention, a LinkedIn post, a conversation with a peer, a Google search at midnight when they're frustrated and desperate for a solution. Your top of funnel doesn't exist anymore. There are 17 different entry points, and you have no control over which one they pick. They jump between channels. They read your blog on mobile. They check your pricing page on desktop 3 days later. Then they watch a webinar replay. They skim your case studies. Then they go dark for 2 weeks while they take a vacation. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, they book a demo. And none of that shows up in your funnel reports because your funnel thinks they're supposed to stay in the email sequence. They ghost, they resurface, then they buy with no warning. One day they're hot, opening every email, clicking every link, and then poof, they disappear for weeks. Your automation marks them cold, your sales team deprioritizes them, then 6 weeks later, they book a call and close in 48 hours. What happened? They weren't ready yet. They had internal conversations to navigate, budget discussions, competing priorities, and when those resolved, they came back. But your funnel had already written them off. Or they're influenced by more peers and stories than by staged nurture. Your perfectly timed nurture sequence, it's not what convinces them. You know what convinces them? A colleague saying, "Oh, we switched to them and it's been a game changer." Or a case study that mirrors their exact situation. Or a candid LinkedIn post from your founder talking about a lesson learned. Those moments create belief. Your automated email about 5 tips for better productivity, well, that's just noise. They don't follow your journey. They construct their own. This is the most important point of all. Your buyer isn't following the path that you laid out. They're building their own path based on their timeline, their questions, and their internal dynamics. And the brands that win today, they don't try to force people back into this nice, neat, tidy funnel. They show up with the right insight at the right moment, whenever and wherever that moment happens to be. So, how do you actually do all of this? How do you move from your rigid, leaky funnel to a conversion strategy that works with how people actually buy today? Well, here's the framework. Move number 1 is you need to map the decision point, not the stage. Stop organizing your strategy around arbitrary funnel stages like top, middle, and bottom. Instead, map the decision points your buyers are navigating. Ask yourself, what are they trying to decide at this moment? Not, are they aware of their problem, but are they deciding whether to fix this internally or hire externally? Or are they deciding between building custom or buying off the shelf? Or are they deciding whether to move forward now or wait till next quarter? Next, ask yourself, what belief is missing right now? What do they need to believe before they can move forward? Do they need to believe the ROI is real? That implementation won't be an absolute nightmare? That your team will actually support them post-sale? What's the belief? Next, what's blocking the next step? Is it an issue with budget approval, internal alignment, fear of making the wrong choice, or lack of proof that it works for companies like theirs? When you map decision points instead of stages, your content strategy transforms. You stop creating generic awareness content and start creating insight that helps someone make the specific decision they're facing right now. And suddenly, your content doesn't just nurture, it moves people. Move number 2 is to build content for moments, not milestones. Here's what most content strategies get wrong. They're built around your milestones, not your customers' moments. We say, we need a lead magnet for top of funnel. We need a case study for middle of funnel. We need a demo for the bottom of the funnel. That's not a strategy. That's just a checklist. A real content strategy is built around the moments when belief shifts. When someone goes from maybe to probably, and then from probably to definitely. You need content that breaks through in the moment they're reconsidering their current tool set, when they're frustrated with their incumbent, when they're Googling alternatives at 11 p.m. because something broke and they're done. You need content that answers the question they're asking right now, not the question you think they should be asking based on your funnel stage. That's the difference between content that gets consumed and forgotten versus content that actually drives action. Move number 3, get diagnostic, not just directional. Stop assuming that a download equals interest. Start tracking intent by looking at the engagement depth, not just the existence of engagement. Did they download the guide? Cool. Did they actually read it? Did they come back 3 days later and read something else? Did they forward it to a colleague? Are they returning to your site every week? Are they bouncing immediately or spending time exploring? Are they engaging with that content that signals buying intent, like pricing pages or comparison guides or implementation timelines? Or are they still looking at content that indicates they're in research mode? The brands that convert at high rates aren't just tracking who engaged, they're tracking how people engage and using that to understand where someone actually is in their decision journey. That's diagnostic. And it's what lets you personalize the experience based on real signals, not just your funnel assumptions. Now, last move, number 4, design reentry points. Here's the reality. Your leads will ghost. They'll go dark, they'll stop responding, they'll disappear from your ecosystem for weeks or months. And you know what? That's okay. The question isn't if they'll ghost. It's how easy is it for them to come back and feel seen when they are ready? Most funnels fail this test. Once someone goes cold, the only way back in is to book another call. That's a terrible re-entry point because booking a call requires commitment. It requires scheduling. It requires being ready. And what if they're not ready yet? What if they just want to check in, see what's new, get a quick hit of insight? You need low friction re-entry points. Content that says, hey, we're still here. Here's something useful, no pressure. A new case study, a quick win resource, a candid post about a lesson learned, a tool or a template that they could use immediately. When someone's been gone for 3 months and suddenly they see something valuable from you, that's when they come back. Not because you sent them another nurture email asking if they're still interested. Because you stayed relevant, you stayed useful, and when they're ready, you were there. Here's the truth. Funnels are diagrams. Buyer journeys are dynamic. Your job isn't to force the path. It's not to herd people through some kind of predetermined sequence and hope they convert at the end. Your job is to show up with clarity at every single pivot point where belief can be shifted. To be present when someone's frustrated with their current solution, when they're evaluating alternatives, when they're getting internal buy-in, and when they're ready to move but need one more piece of proof. The best teams don't just fill the funnel and pray for conversion. They meet buyers where they are, and then they move with them. They build content for moments, not milestones. They track intent, not just activity. They design for re-entry, not just initial engagement. And because of that, they don't just convert more leads. They convert the right leads faster and with less friction and with way more trust. That's the difference between a funnel strategy and a journey strategy. One is rigid, the other is responsive. One forces, the other flows. And in a world where buyers have infinite options and zero patience for being, quote, nurtured through a process that doesn't even respect their reality, Well, flow wins every single time. If you've been running the same funnel for the past 5 years, if your conversion rates have been flat or declining and you can't figure out why, do yourself a favor. Send this episode to your head of growth, your VP of marketing, or your RevOps lead, because this isn't just theory. This is the difference between watching leads leak out of your funnel and actually building a system that moves people from curious to committed. You'll thank me later. I'm Sterling Phoenix. This was The Rise. We're in the old funnel. Build what works. I'll see you in the next one. Clarity, momentum, no burnout. That's the rock.